September 25th FinCom meeting. If we could start by saying the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a few fun things to go over tonight. First thing is, I need a volunteer.
Or don't jump at us.
Someone to take minutes.
You want me to do it again? Did I do an okay job last time? I'll do it again if you want me to.
I'll do it.
You should.
I'll do it.
Because I'm Peter.
All right, awesome. Today is the annual discussion of reorganization. I think I've made my beliefs known that I don't think we necessarily have to do it, but that's just my belief. But we have to go through the process of either doing it with no change or doing it with the change. So I will take anybody's motion as to how we reorganize. Aaron?
Thank you. Before a motion, I guess just a comment. I think that in thinking about this, it's tempting to say, oh, you want 2 years? Have 10, right? Great, we found our guy. But that the right answer for the committee as a whole is one that is the right answer, whether we like the chairman or don't like the chairman, whether we think the chairman's doing well or the chairman's doing poorly. And it's one that I think benefits the committee as a whole when we cycle through and people get that immersive experience. And I think that Mike and Rick and people who've gone through that chairmanship have come out of it with an experience that makes them a better committee member going forward and able to contribute more to the committee having gone through it. And that the more of us experience that, the stronger we are as a whole.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
And I don't know if you are, volunteering this out of the goodness of your heart, or you feel like there are things you still want to pursue. Maybe you can speak on that. I'm wondering if, what the reasons would be for wanting to keep the chairmanship, and we can weigh it. And, I'm not staunch either way.
So, from my perspective, and I think Mike has aired this before, that you get into the seat, and for the longest time, you're just trying to, get to the surface and tread water. So you're, I don't want to say wasting, but you're kind of learning as you go.
Right.
And so there are a lot of things that you may want to do, or you may want to introduce, but you're just so overwhelmed at just what has to be done that you put that aside. And then you kind of get to the point mid-winter session, March, April, where you're starting to get comfortable. But now your time is almost up. So in that sense, from my perspective, yes, another year enables the person sitting here, whether it's me or somebody else, to really set an agenda and try to see it through, that you cannot accomplish in 12 months. Conversely, exactly what you said, before I sat here, I was always in that corner, and I probably said boo once, and just sat there and took it all in.
Thank you. Are they things that you can't continue to pursue or accomplish through a new chairman? And that adds in perhaps maybe a layer of communication. But, you know, if a new chairman, if Steve takes the chairmanship and, you know, has the guidance of now 3 former chairs, is that, you know? 4?
Yeah,
And Tom.
plus,
So 5, Tom?
yeah, Tom, 5.
Tom, 6.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You know, if there were things that, you know, you where you say, you know, now I've just figured this out, I want to get going with it. You know, I feel like, you know, this committee doesn't really operate as the chair sets the agenda and, you know, it's more, of, you know, it's, you moderate, right? I mean, if any one of us who want to discuss something, it's going to get discussed. If any of us request information, we do it through the chair and we get that information, and, you know, it just seems like, I appreciate what you're saying about, you know, like I just got settled in this, you know, my chair is finally warm. But there's a counterpoint that I think we should consider, and
I don't I don't disagree. Again, the annual change came about, as Paul would have said, because he was in the seat for many years and no one stepped up to take that position, and that's when they put it in for an annual change. Prior to that, it wasn't.
For to be considered for an annual change.
Right. Like,
I do agree there's a learning curve involved, but there's nothing that like a chairman knows that the rest of the committee doesn't know. There's no secrets that a chairman keeps with the town manager or with anyone else. Everything's out there. And so, you know, everybody on the committee has an opportunity to learn, and the vice chair accepts the position because they're asked by the chairman usually, that, you know, by accepting the position, you know, they're letting everyone know that they feel they're ready with a year's coaching, if you will. And that's one of the reasons why the vice chair isn't automatically, nothing's automatic, but the vice chair, you know, historically has been the chairman the next year, so that's the learning process for the vice chair. And also, it's kind of unfair, especially now, like to say to Steve, I mean, he accepted the vice president position expecting to be chair in next year. So that wasn't, you know, and having to change, you know, for him, for this particular one anyway, you know, I would think it is, you know, it's kind of last minute, you know, change in the way, you know, of what, you know, those expectations were. And it's not, and, you know, Paul himself said, but when he was the chairman for those multiple years, I mean, you get comfortable, and, you know, he was recognized as the authority. I don't think anyone here feels like, the chairman has, you know, by position, the control of the committee and procedural matters and everything, but after someone's been in a position for a while, they get, more comfortable with the power that's involved, and, you know, that may, you know, I don't think that's personally is a good thing. And a rotation, you know, hasn't failed, you know, there hasn't been any problems with it in the past, so I would personally like to see the way it's, you know, continue the way it has been for all the years, you know, that I can remember.
Steve?
I agree with, I can see it from both sides, but I will say that when this conversation first happened, when Bill was thinking about this, he did address it a while ago. It's a couple of months now, and he did ask me my opinion as well, and I didn't have a problem with him staying on for that. So as far as expectations of me automatically sliding over, it's not a new thing. I don't have a problem with that, but I can see it from both directions. I think there's momentum that he's gained going into this, that he can continue on for another year with that momentum, certain things, committees, that kind of stuff. I can see it that way.
All right, well, the way the process works is, candidates are nominated.
Right.
So, would you accept the nomination if you were nominated?
It would-
Okay. And you would as well, obviously. Okay.
Still need to find a vice chair as well, if you were to accept.
Just from being, probably refresh my memory and being the most immediate past chair, there's definitely a lot of what I call the blocking and tackling on the job when you first get the chairmanship. There's a lot of administrative work that needs to be really towed to and be accurate. And, so that spends an enormous amount, quite a bit of time. And then I think when we go into the spring session, that becomes more of a visionary or forecasting a little better, and you're getting a better feel of the chairmanship. So certainly understand, everyone's point tonight. Certainly there's pros and cons for both. I don't think by any means, you extend the chairmanship, beyond, 3 years, 2 years, it should be, for me, I think a continuity with an extension of another year does, continue the momentum that was being worked and practiced. So either way, but, I do see the point about, continuing multiple years. I don't think that's healthy for the members or the committee, but I can certainly see a second year as well. So, if the chairman or vice chair and all agree to it. So, again, it's everyone's voice, and we're one voice after we all vote. So, I can certainly understand both sides, and I think, whatever the results will be, I'm sure we'll just continue being the best we can be.
Steve?
I'll nominate Bill Rotundi to serve in the next term. I don't know if we have to lay out the actual dates, but as chairman of the finance committee.
Wait a minute, hold on, I'm supposed to write that down. I'm listening, and I can write it down.
Get ready to vote.
Who's second?
Ms. Sawyer.
So we have a motion and a second.
Ms. Sawyer.
Mr. Chairman,
Mike?
I'd like to nominate Steve Evans for chairman.
Second?
Second.
Let's back up. Don't we have to go through the first one first?
Yeah, I think, I don't know.
No, you
think people-
open nomination.
No.
The motion.
People need to know what their options are before
Well-
they vote, right?
You,
Mike?
I could just say, you ask for nominations, and then you have a motion to close nominations for chair, and then you would vote.
Okay, so there was a motion,
So I have a,
second?
Second?
what was that motion for? To close nominations?
No,
No, not yet.
Nominating.
That was
to nominate Steve for chair.
as chair by,
Mike.
Mike
and
did.
then Rick second.
Oh, Rick second, I thought Aaron did. Rick. Okay.
Amy seconded the first one.
Yep.
Yep. We're going to get this by the end of the
So
meeting.
is there any other nominations?
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman? I make a motion that we close nominations?
Second?
Okay, we need to take a vote.
So now,
Vote to close nominations.
All those in favor of closing nominations? Unanimous.
10?
So now you go through each one?
Um,
How do you?
You just say all those in favor of Bill Rotundi, raise your hand, and then all those in favor of
No, Steve Evans.
whoever was nominated first.
Yes, right.
Yeah, Bill was nominated
So,
first.
Okay.
so you would say all those in favor of me. Because you're the one who has to call the
See?
vote.
Now it's awkward.
That is very awkward.
It's okay.
All those in favor of Bill Rotundi as chairman, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those in favor of Steve being chairman, raise your hand. 2.
Mr. Chair,
I don't know.
Wait a
Good
second.
question.
I don't know if it's possible to reopen
Oh, yeah.
the vote so we can have a unanimous decision. I think that's
Yeah,
allowed, I think. Is that procedurally, that's, okay?
so we just voted 8 for and 2 against. Can I have the 2 against?
Well,
Well, it wasn't really
Now-
against. It was
No,
just
it's not for. Who not for? There was-
8.
no, you
for-
voted 8 for Bill and 2
2
for
for
Steve.
And do you have to abstain on your own?
Then take one away.
What's that?
Do you have to abstain on your own?
No.
when you vote? Okay.
8 for Bill. And 4 for Steve.
So now what do we,
We,
Now we-
to reopen the nominations and then have a revote for you to make it unanimous. So, Mr. Chairman, I move we reopen the nominations.
Second.
I nominate Bill Rotundi.
Second.
Hold on.
okay.
Hold on, Peter needs to write all of this down.
And I think we had to vote on reopening the nominations.
Right.
Proceed.
Right, we have to vote.
So,
I thought so too.
He's-
all those,
Who
in-
seconded the reopening?
I
Rick,
did.
all those in favor of reopening the nominations, raise your hand. That
That
is
unanimous?
unanimous.
Are you pledged to pledge allegiance yet?
I guess I won't make my motion too quick on that other one. Sorry, folks.
Okay, so-
now there's a motion,
Motion, Bill Rotundi for as chairman.
Second.
any further discussion?
So Mike, motion,
Rick second,
Bill Rotundi as chairman.
and then Mike, Rick.
Rick seconded.
I move we close nominations.
I'm confused.
We reopen nominations, now we're going to close nominations.
Okay,
But, now I'm really confused. I'm sorry. So, we had 2 nominations initially.
yep.
Yes,
Bill as chairman, and Steve as
Steve.
vice chair.
yes.
Correct. And now you
No,
just
no, no,
nominated.
Steve was
It's to
chair.
make the vote
Chair.
unanimous.
Steve was
Two
chair.
nominees for chairman.
You're not talking
Right.
about Bill, I'm the third person.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now
Oh, the
it's-
first one was Bill
We
and
haven't got to
Steve
the
for
vice
chairman?
chair yet.
Yes,
That's what confused me. I'm sorry.
We haven't got to the vice chair.
So, gotcha. All right.
Okay.
Now we're nominated Bill.
so that's to open the nomination.
Yes.
And we have the nomination now, I move to close nominations.
Second.
Motion and a second to close.
And now we have the vote.
All those in favor, right,
Of closing nominations.
yes.
Yes.
Didn't you guys ever try
All
to
those in
do it?
favor?
Unanimous.
That's unanimous.
I know.
I don't know what that would change, but there we go.
Now,
Now we vote for Bill as chairman.
I'll say.
So there's been a new motion.
Yep. So,
For Bill
this
as
motion, you seconded that,
right. We've closed nominations.
right.
No,
We voted on
And now,
Now we need
now
to
there's a
vote.
motion.
now we have to vote.
Now we have to vote. So you
Right.
call the vote.
Any further discussion on this vote? All those in favor?
Of Bill as
it.
chairman.
Okay, correct.
Okay,
That's unanimous?
Yes.
I think so. Okay. Thank you.
So, I have one more discussion. Do we not have a nomination for vice chair at this point?
I was gonna ask.
That was
No,
going to be my next
That's
question.
next.
Yeah, you have.
We have to
Okay.
vote- we have
That
to
would be
vote on
next.
this.
All
We're
right,
gonna talk about that right now.
now here we go.
Just so we can do this all
So,
I guess,
Mike,
Entertain a
keep
motion.
going, Mike.
Question?
Aaron,
Steve, do you want the vice chair again, and
Yes.
you are prepared to take the chairmanship next year?
And prepared.
After
And prepared.
after Bill starts showing up in epaulets and aviators and.
all right then.
All right, I'll nominate Steve Evans for vice chair.
Second.
Oh, motion and a second.
Nominate Steve,
Do we close this too?
vice chair. And who seconded, please?
Amy?
Amy.
Thank you.
Do we even have to if there's nobody else nominated?
Let's do it.
We still need to
Mr.
close.
Chairman, I make a motion to close nominations.
Second?
All those in favor? Closing the nomination.
Us, yeah.
Okay, now,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to select Steve Evans as the next vice chair for the 2019-20 season.
Second.
thank
Hold
you.
on.
FY.
FY 20-21.
No, we're doing-
Allegiance, A-L-L.
Hold on.
No, it's 19.
We just closed,
It's FY 20.
we just closed the nominations.
Yes.
You just have to call a vote. There's no other motion.
Right.
There's no motion involved. You call a vote.
Oh.
Because we've closed, there's no motion to elect somebody. You call a vote, right? You just call a vote.
Okay, I'll call a vote.
There you go.
All those in Amy? Oh.
No.
All those in favor of Steve Evans as vice chair for the upcoming season, raise your hand. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Ever.
Now we got that protocol done.
Vote against yourself.
Okay, then.
Wow, that
Um,
took 20 minutes.
I didn't think that was gonna be the hard part.
We're off our game, I feel like.
Well, yeah, we are out of practice. Next thing on the agenda is to designate a capital improvements representative.
I nominate.
I was gonna nominate Peter.
You know,
But I was gonna ask him if he wanted to leave again.
Yeah, I do.
Aaron?
Oh, do we have a volunteer?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I was going to suggest that we
already
just
been
kind of review like who's already doing what, and, but if we have
Peter's already doing capital.
found our route, okay?
Okay, so,
Who seconded?
I will.
I'll make
yeah,
the,
who made a, did you
May
make a?
second.
Action.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we nominate Peter as our representative to the capital.
well,
Second.
second.
Multiple seconds.
Pick a second.
Pick a second.
He's so popular.
All those in favor of Peter continuing as our capital improvements representative?
Abstain.
One abstention. All right then.
See, didn't
Um,
give an option.
Do we want to continue with school, police, fire, since we normally do those?
You only nominate. I don't think it's nominated. I think you approve the, is it?
We just,
Well, we seek volunteers to,
Right, but I don't think it's, we don't vote it like
No, the
chairman,
chair,
right?
the chairman would have.
yeah.
So it wasn't like a nomination, it's more like, yeah, all right, I got you. So we don't have to vote again. All right, thank you.
but I still need.
Do we just want to review who's doing what and make
Yeah.
sure?
So, for the upcoming budget season, who is or who would like to be our representative for the schools?
I'm happy to continue on in that space.
That's fine, I didn't see any other
Unless
hands.
anyone wants to arm wrestle me.
That's fine. I think we need to vote that.
Water and sewer, oh, do we need to vote it?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
Either.
Water and sewer,
Water and sewer.
We'll do fire,
fire,
fire.
Police?
Who was water and sewer?
Aaron?
Aaron?
Police's,
Police?
Police is Walter.
Walter?
Fire is Rick. Those are the big ones. You're the,
Highway? Do you
PBC.
have someone on highway?
I don't think they ever meet.
do they meet?
I don't think we have any.
We
I don't think
have
we-
never had one for highway, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't. I mean, there's a
Right.
lot going on. I don't think it'd
Anybody wanna,
Who's empty?
But I need to know what that entails, please.
We don't know.
it really just reach out to the
Yeah.
manager and just say, hey,
Silva.
I'm the representative for FinCom, and, you know, if you have any concerns that you'd like to discuss, you know, then have a meeting with them, and
Sounds good.
And I think it also kind of boils down to following their meetings, knowing what's going on, and then if anyone in here has questions, you're up to date and can kind of keep the committee apprised as to the details of what's going on over there, because all of us keeping up to date with every last detail of every committee and every department around town can get, you know, I tried it for 6 months and lost all my hair, so.
Bonnie?
So we have somebody attending, so you attend school committee meetings? Is that right, Amy?
Yes, as much as I'm able to.
Right.
And when I'm unable to attend, I watch them on video.
Yeah, right, and I've done that as well. So I do permanent building committee, which is a committee, not a department, but I figure it's worth mentioning, because.
Okay.
But I think it might be helpful to have someone attend or watch Board of Selectmen
I was just getting there.
meetings. I
Yes.
attend a lot of them, but I'm not there as a representative. I'm just there as a gallery folk, and watch them on TV, too. But I think it's important for those boards.
I should make Tom do that.
I think we should split that,
It's
if
every 2 weeks,
possible.
just like school committee.
Like, the first meeting goes to one person, the second goes to someone else. Do I have any volunteers for that? Would like to?
To attend half of the Board of Selectmen meetings, or at least watch them, and then report back?
Attending is better, but even just watching them, if,
Okay, I can definitely help.
okay. Do you want the first one of the month or the second one of the month?
Does not matter.
Tom's watching. Can we stick Tom with that?
Would we want to do that to the Board of
Just teasing.
Selectmen?
Just teasing.
Mr. Chair?
Aaron?
Is part of the, for the Board of Selectmen, would we want to be there in person in case they had a question for the Finance Committee? Would that representative be able to answer on behalf of the Finance Committee? I don't know the right answer to that, I just bring it up as something for consideration.
I don't know if you can fully answer, but you may be able to answer from the perspective of FinCom.
Yourself as a Finance
Yeah.
member.
So in that regard, you can answer.
I don't know if they've ever asked a question either, maybe moot.
I think in the past, Board of Selectmen that attend our meeting don't answer as the Board of Selectmen. They
Right.
answer as someone who was on the board in their opinion of it.
Right,
So they,
So you-
they don't speak for the board, they speak as a member of it.
right.
You can do that to the Board
To,
of Selectmen.
to relay, hey, we would look at it from this,
Or we've discussed this, or, it's more,
Right.
I think, a matter of communication, too. I mean, we want to have somebody in these meetings, any of them, so that we all know what's going on in those meetings, and so that if they have questions, we can come back to this meeting at the next opportunity and talk about it and go back to them and just improve communication.
right. I mean, it can be, you know, first meeting, second meeting, we can do it monthly, where someone can just volunteer, hey, I'll take, you know, October, I'll take November, I'll take December type thing. I found it, you know, with work and the ad hoc committee and this committee, it got a little difficult to commit to getting to the Board of Selectmen also. I mean, we all have families. So rotating it may be the easiest way.
Well, I can certainly help with rotating it, as I try to go.
I'll rotate.
Yeah, I do the same.
All right. I think we just need to come up with a schedule.
Schedule.
Yeah, my schedule more than anything else, yeah.
So, for October, or do we want to do weekly or monthly?
Well, it's every 2 weeks.
Right.
So it's, yeah, twice a month.
But do it,
I think, Mike, are you meeting weekly again, or still bi-weekly?
yeah.
Okay.
We meet weekly in the spring. Is that when they meet weekly?
They meet
Mike?
every other week.
What was that point?
Is that when they meet weekly, is in the spring?
They just meet every other week.
They do, okay. All year.
Makes it easier.
No,
Probably make it easier to take a month. And if-
Right.
And if you can't make that second meeting or the first meeting, just text
Text the
us,
group.
the group,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I think
someone will
that's the
jump
thing.
in.
If you take a month, you
I
text.
think that's the
group and
easiest,
someone will
easiest thing to do.
So who wants October?
I'm gone for a good part of the month, so I'll have to skip October. I can take November, but October I can't do.
Okay.
I can take October if that works.
November, we're meeting every week.
All right, so we got 2 months down.
Okay.
We'll figure out December in a couple weeks.
A question. They always meet Thursdays, is that
Yes.
typical? Okay.
They meet at the same time as school committee, so you can't.
Right, yeah.
All right. I think that
What about
hit every,
the ad hoc how we,
ad hoc meets again next Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Eight,
next Tuesday.
2 Tuesdays, the
Two
8th.
Tuesdays?
are we going to keep the same members, committees, yeah.
We've only met
Yeah.
twice, and I've only gotten there
Yeah.
once.
I've
I'm-
only gone there once.
We haven't really started anything because we requested information from the department heads, and that, we're getting that information for the first time next week.
Yeah.
No,
So
I'm
really,
all,
the committee doesn't even start its function until next week.
yeah, no, I'm all fine, that's fine.
Okay.
I think you keep the momentum.
So is this the ad hoc?
We'll be
Just
the,
call it the ad hoc committee?
Yep. That's Aaron, Amy, Mike, and me.
and I assume that would be permanent building committee as well, everybody
Bonnie.
stays,
Bonnie.
yeah,
Yeah,
everyone stays the same.
I'm permanently on the permanent board. I'm not, actually.
All right. I think we covered that. So, half hour into it, Mike.
Okay. In your packet, you have the estimated operating revenue and expenditure sheet after the final conference committee from the state. And as you can see, as usual, we don't get a lot of state aid, not much of a difference. So we have a whopping balance of $2,483 after state aid. Nothing changed that dramatically. Also in the packet is, we received our free cash certification of $4,181,813. And the free cash, the bulk of that, so the major items, we had $584,346 of unused free cash from the previous year. $982,189 in turnbacks from departments, funds that weren't used. The bulk of that was functions 1, 3, and 9.
Mike, sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
Are you getting the numbers from somewhere? Or you
Yeah.
just rattle them off to me that I can't write them down?
I'll give you a copy afterwards. It'll be easier. And then the receipts above expectations was $2,263,969. So and also, in your packet, you have the history, the free cash history. And if you look at the years, generally, a lot of years around 2 million, and then you'll see 2017 up to 4.8, That was the year we had the 1.5 million Alnylam permit fee, so that's a one-time hit. And then this year, 660,000 new growth for Alnylam kicked in. So
So
the benefit of that project.
will that 660 continue on?
Yeah.
As part of our now base?
Yeah.
Okay, so we should expect that to continue next year, right?
And the 2.2 was like automobiles and stuff like that, or?
The main part of that was motor vehicle excise, licenses and permits, and investment income. I gave you have in your packet,
Investment income. Investment income. We're making money? Awesome.
some bank.
I love that so much.
So motor vehicle excise was 1.1, roughly above expectations. And if you remember, for this year's budget, we increased our estimate 500,000 on motor vehicle excise, so we won't have that huge amount. And licenses and permits, 320,881. And the investment income, the treasurer's doing a great job. That's $207,827 above expectations.
That's awesome.
What drove, Mike, what drove that? We're very conservative.
What's that? Say?
I mean, 207,000, what drove that? We're very conservative, so I,
She's been very good about finding places that she can move the money around that'll make, she has to be conservative, obviously, but at least making interest on some.
that's how many basis points? I don't know what our
Total in,
investment pool is.
I don't know.
She'll let you know her magic.
Total cash is on hand.
Mike, forget about it, I can't remember, the Banded Property Program, was that the prior fiscal year, or was that?
The receipts coming in.
What, selling property?
Yeah,
We continue that every year
but
whenever,
we had a, yeah, okay.
whenever she has anything.
I remember we had a windfall
Yeah.
one year, I didn't know it was this
Yeah,
fiscal
I
year.
don't know if it was this fiscal year, I'll check with.
And Mike, that stuff goes under payments in lieu of taxes, or is that somewhere else?
No, that's.
Tax titles,
That, somewhere else.
is it on the?
What are you looking for?
So if you do go out and sell tax title, or
Right.
what line item does that go under, for income?
Let me get back to it. So, yeah, that wouldn't be anything to do with investment income. If it would be miscellaneous, non-recurring, more than like anything that we sell, it's a one-time thing, so it's not something that's gonna be recurring every year.
And I apologize, but on that line item, it's up 315,000 over our projection. So what's in that?
Well, that's the total. It says year-to-date collected and then the same number for variance.
We just didn't.
The variance to budget is, no,
Yeah, it's the
we
same
don't
number.
budget anything for miscellaneous, non-recurring, because we don't know what it's gonna be. So on that one line, the 315, 278 is
This number is
what was taken in. And,
a 0%.
like you can see in June, 175, 413, 24. That more than likely was a payment for Medicaid reimbursement. And also, provided you with the current balances in our stabilization fund, which should be at 5% of our budget, so really we should be up around 3 million. We've been making a good effort. The last couple years, we put 300,000 in each year. And then the next one is OPEB.
Aaron?
Sorry, Mike, just to remember, we got 982,000 back in turnbacks as part of our free cash in functions 1, 3, and 9. I'm just wondering what functions 1, 3, and 9 are.
One, sure, I can tell you. One is, most of the town departments, selectmen, town manager, finance committee, reserve fund, accounting, assessors, treasurer, collector, legal services, data processing, town clerk, election and registration, conservation, planning, Southeast Regional Planning and Economic Development, zoning, municipal building, town report, and postage. And function 3 would be Norton Public Schools, Southeastern Regional, and Bristol County Agricultural. And the bulk of that was, they didn't break ground. We had the 70,000 assessment in there for the Bristol County Agricultural School that they never, so this year we'll probably have that. And then just the number of students overestimated to what they actually had. And then the schools, the Norton schools turned back $19,620 in prior year encumbrances that weren't used. And function 9 is gasoline, all insurances, employee benefits. And so the bulk of that would be health insurance. We were fortunate, we had a good rate this year. We're always nervous we're gonna get that double-digit hit at some point, but came in really good this past year. And so the bulk of that was from estimating on how many people were gonna be going on family plans and if it was gonna go up 10% or not, and we got a good rate, so a lot of it was for that.
Mike, so why is total function 9 twice in this sheet?
Say that again, I didn't hear.
This sheet has like, function 9 is twice, one's bold and one's at number 9. It's like 9, function 9's at the top, and then it's 1 through 9.
I think one's breakdown of the 470, and then one's summarizing.
Well, the lines look the same.
Yeah, up
I
here.
think this is the last page of the report.
Up here's the detail.
And so this is the very end of the report,
Oh,
the
yeah.
detail on
They're
function
giving you the-
9, and then the summary of
the
all
previous.
those.
Oh, and we didn't see all the other details, did we?
No.
Oh,
We're
okay.
just seeing
Right.
the last.
Now I
That's what it looks like to me.
gotcha. Thank you.
In our OPEB, we've been increasing a little bit each year, and, now we're actually starting to see something in the interest side of the OPEB. The interest was almost 20,000 this year, so we'll have to keep our efforts going on that.
So, one question.
Yeah.
We probably asked it before, but I'm gonna write it down because I'm taking notes. So, we have 45 in the account. What's our?
Our liability,
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
61 million.
61 million.
Getting closer every day.
Look at that 20,000 in interest.
No, that is frustrating with that, and then even with the stabilization, because, we added 300, but the budget keeps going up, and,
Right, so you have to cover more.
Okay.
and just generally, last year of our free cash, we put 3% of it into OPEB, 10% into stabilization, 30% into capital, and 10% was unappropriated, left. So. And with our OPEB, when we'll really make, I don't know who'll still be around, but the Bristol County Retirement is due to be paid off in 2030. They're supposed to be fully funded. And so at that time, the money that we've been putting into Bristol County Retirement every year could start going into the OPEB, and it would start going up a lot by $2 million a year, so.
It still won't be our lifetime.
You might be chairman by then.
Yeah.
Don't hold your breath, though. You only got 2 votes.
Look at another Rich.
Any questions on anything you think of afterwards, just send me an email and I'll get your info. And just,
I have a quick question.
go ahead.
Do we think we're at the point, since our free cash, I know even if you back out that Elm Island payment from 2017, we've been pretty consistently in the $3 to $4 million space.
More, I'd say 2.5 to
Okay.
3 million area.
Do we feel comfortable that we can maybe start thinking about backing that 600,000 out of the budget process that we roll over every year? So that we can budget for the coming year's budget with coming year's funds instead of having to push that $600,000 from free cash into next year's budget like we've been doing for a really long time. Just food for thought.
We also have almost $1 million in turnbacks, so that's
much?
something else to think about as well.
So,
Peter?
I could just say that if we didn't put the 600,000, we wouldn't have been able to put a balanced budget. There would have
Right,
been
but
cuts
that-
somewhere.
But that's part of a function of the estimates of our revenue,
Yeah.
not
Right.
necessarily aligning with the realities of our revenue, and also the budgets of our departments not aligning with the realities of their spending, because they're not, if they're turning back almost $1 million annually, then they're asking for money they're not spending.
That would be, I think, helpful to know what the turnbacks were. If we can see that list of,
And just, and just as I said every year that, the Department of Revenue says you should have free cash at the end of the year through conservative budgeting of at least 5% of your budget should be free cash, 3 to 5%. People can look at it and say, well, geez, you got turnbacks and your revenues are, but that's designed because you're supposed to have that. And our fund balance should be 10 to 11%. So stabilization, free cash, unused free cash, capital, that should equal 10 to 11% of our budget every year. And
Aaron first.
I think I get where Amy's coming from on the, it's frustrating, $982,000 of free cash, but I think, or of turnbacks, excuse me, but I think that's just something that we should expect, right? If we're trying to budget out for things like, gas, health insurance, whatever it is, but, we don't want to come up short. If we try and hit the number too close to the head, we run some risk, and I'd rather get turnbacks than have it go the other way.
Right.
So, I think, getting $982,000 might seem like, well, gee, that's money we could be using elsewhere, but that's fraught with danger. That's that money being out there and there to be used for more gas had we had, a severe snowstorm or whatever, when things come up, I think is the conservative play.
Right. Mike?
Well, on the ad hoc committee, we've been talking about, if it is even, reasonable to not even put in free cash at all into the budget, and then, show, for lack of another word, show the pain of how lacking we are in revenues. But if we have turnbacks of $1 million, then I still don't understand how we would have a turnback when every year there's layoffs and reductions in services, and then people find out that, well, the departments didn't spend $1 million that we gave them, and then it's inconsistent.
Well, I don't know about layoffs, there were 2 people on.
Well, well, you know how the process is.
And we have departments, sorry. I raised my hand. You-
Walter?
So you bring up a good point, Mike. I mean, should we know where these turnbacks are coming from so that we can watch for patterns and maybe do some minor adjustments? I agree with Aaron that we don't want to over-tune that.
Right.
I like erring on the side of having some turnbacks, but if we saw a pattern over years, then I might be inclined to actually act on it.
Yeah,
So I'd be interested in knowing where the big ones are coming from.
And then, go ahead. And then you have to be cautious and making sure you have free cash, because you know how the mentality is. If, are people gonna be willing to budget $1 million a year towards capital, or is all of a sudden people gonna say, oh, well, now let's throw that money into budgets, and then all of a sudden, all our buildings start getting run down, our equipment gets old, and we don't have the funds for it. So, I mean, we're putting $1 million into our capital from our free cash each year. So,
Well, just what I was going to say is, some of the requests we had were perfectly reasonable, like adding to the dog officer fund and, adding admin hours for departments that are shoestring and the veterans. But I mean, I just think there were so many instances where out of this, that if we had this information, we could think about those reasonable requests in a different way. So, maybe the last few years.
Peter?
Mike, I just wanted to clarify.
Yep.
So the good practices were 5% of the budget should be you expect to turn back each year, 5% of our budget. And then 10% of the budget, of your budget, should be capital and what else?
10% of the budget should be your fund balance, which is,
Fund balance.
like a capital stabilization, money that you have available if there's a catastrophe.
Okay. Stabilizing capital, should be tension north.
Steve?
It just looks so, I mean, we talk about the budget process, but in conservatism, which I agree with. But for the last 10 years, we've been running 2 million plus of free cash. So I think, to Walter's point again, if we can drill down what's happening to the specific departments, that's gonna help make our budget process stronger. Because on top of that, there's another 4 million in the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund, based on the letter here. So those are all, again, what are those, what's generating that? Is it revenue? Is it expense turnbacks? But
The Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund, that's,
I know, I agree, but it's still, it's still over. It's items either got in excess of what we thought or not spent.
it would probably be a combination of the
Right.
two.
We just don't get that breakdown because it goes into the strengthening of our budget process.
Right.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback on Steve's point, maybe, the revenue drivers, the 5 or 6 revenue drivers, the top ones, how do they trend the last 3 years? I mean, I think property taxes are about 2.6 million, I think, and I think 83% that is residential and 13% is commercial industrial, but are you seeing year-over-year growth in that, and then some of that commercial industrials floating down to permits, so you can kind of weave where that revenue is growing in certain areas for the town, and then that, gives us a better forecast. Because I know it's difficult in some, I think, is it excise tax, motor vehicle? How often is that recorded to us?
How often? Twice?
Yeah,
a year.
twice a year. So, maybe we take the last 3 years, I don't know, and you look at that number and you say, okay, we got development A, B, and C, residential, commercial, we expect so many cars to be registered, and then just kind of do a year-over-year kind of layover.
We will need to be careful with that because we've had a couple of anomalies. I think, too, a few years ago, it was the Red Mill Village and, everybody moved in, brought cars into town and we there was this big spike, and I think last year somebody bought a fleet of trucks for their business. And things like that.
One year was when Waste Management moved in, so it was a big spike on all new natural gas vehicles.
But my question, Mike, for you is it possible for us to get a detailed breakdown of year-over-year turnbacks so that we can look for commonalities in that?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
We can kind of examine, what the specifics might be. Because if there's an area where we can say, even to not eliminate, but just trim, if someone is turning back $40,000 a year, every year for 7 years on a specific item, we may say, how about we give you a $20,000 cushion there instead? And that might be reasonable. So I think that'd be something I'd be interested in looking at. And we can still be safe about it.
Yep.
As Walter said, not try to hit it, or someone said, not try to hit it too close to perfect.
Right, and then politically speaking, you have to look at the other aspect of turnbacks where you want to be careful that you don't start saying to departments that are being frugal and turning, they have that money because they're being frugal and it's there if they need it, but then they're turning it back. You don't want them to say, well, why am I turning back money and then 70% of it's going to the school department? They're not going to be, then they're going to start saying, okay, why, if you're going to start nickeling and diming everything, then.
How do I spend everything? Yeah.
And
To that point, doesn't some turnbacks are associated with insurance reimbursements?
some insurance reimbursements or an employee leaves,
Right.
and you may not find a replacement for 2 to 3 months, so there's some savings in salary there, things like that. Or if a firefighter or a police officer
Goes
is
on
out on
right.
injured reserve.
That's what I was
And we're getting
thinking about, right.
some money from the insurance
Right.
companies.
Yep.
So that could be a decent chunk of,
Right.
of that turnback. It's possible.
Right.
Okay. And just wanted to go over 3 of the articles with you if we can. The first one we have is a prior year bill in $675. This was going to be on the previous special that was canceled. This is for the inspection department for Midway Collision.
Wow.
Can't they bill faster?
Yeah, that's the same conversation, yeah.
That's where I said that last time. I said,
I'm gonna have to talk with them.
And that money will be coming out of their existing expense account for this year, just that it's a prior year bill, so town meeting has to approve it.
Amy?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend Article 1, the amount of $675 to pay the prior year bill of the Midway Collision Center.
Second.
Motion and a second to pay $675 to Midway Collision, last year bill, this year budget. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous?
And the next article, just want to go over a little bit with you. We're still, we have a meeting actually next Tuesday with the attorneys. This is Article 10. And this is for the rail trail. And the rail trail is scheduled to be on the tip for 2021, but we're hoping we can get it pushed up. So we want to make sure that we, if all of a sudden, you know, we can get things done and move this up and have it come on the tip a little earlier before 2022, we'd like to see it. And so this will be the same process as happened out on 123, where we'll have to hire an appraiser a review appraiser, and then pay for any takings or easements that are needed. Right now, we know there's 25 takings and easements that are going to be needed, but what we need to study more with council is how the right-of-way is actually owned, or how it was taken when it was taken by Mansfield, to make sure that we don't have to have any takings along the way of the easement, too. So we're going to hopefully find that out next Tuesday. I mean, right now, we'd probably be looking at somewhere around 125,000 to get in here. We spent 115, I think, on Route 123. This is a lot longer if we have to take easements along the way, but hopefully we'll have that narrowed down next Tuesday. The next article is the LED streetlight conversion.
Mike, can I ask a question about the 125-ish thousand? Where would that come from?
Free cash.
You said, what's the next article?
The next article is on the streetlight conversion. Trying to see what number that is in your...
13.
What number, Mike?
13?
Previously, town meeting voted to appropriate money for a consultant to review all our streetlights and do an RFP process to pick a vendor to convert all our streetlights to LEDs. And the cost is $455,000, and you have, your last page of your packet will show that we've applied and hopefully going to be receiving two grants, $40,000 and $41,000. One would be a National Grid Mass Save incentive, and the other one is an MAP, Metropolitan Area Planning Council, in Division of Energy Resources Incentive Program, another $41,159. So we're hoping to receive those, but like everything else, whenever we think we're going to get some grant money, we would appropriate the entire amount and reduce it by grants that are received. So the entire project cost will be $454,994. So the question still here is we're trying to determine whether we want to do short-term borrowing and pay it off aggressively, or if we have the free cash available, it'd be nice just to pay for it one time. And just to let you know that right now, on our street lights annually, we're paying about $115,000 in electric cost. When this goes after the upgrade, we'll be paying $19,677 a year. So that's a savings of $95,146 a year. Then our annual maintenance cost, they estimate at $5,341. So if you add the $5,341 and the $19,667, I'll give you a copy of this, Steve. Our annual cost for our streetlights will be $25,018 a year versus the $114,823. So it's it's under a 4-year payback for the $455,000. So
Is it is this through Mass CEC or as well, is 0% loan or?
that's what we're looking to see. We haven't applied for borrowing right now. We were thinking of just using the free cash. I don't know if we can qualify for the 0% loan as a municipality. I know homeowners can, but I'm not sure we can.
This is good.
Peter?
So Mike, you mentioned a couple of 40,000 and 41,000 of grants we could get.
Mhm.
Was that that was included in bringing the number down to 455?
No, that would come off the 454.
Off the 455?
Yep,
So it was 40,000 and
You
41,000?
look at the sheet on the packet.
Very last.
Oh, last sheet of, okay.
Yeah.
A lot of pages to go through, I never got that far.
The estimated net project cost, if we get those grants, would go down from the 455 to $373,721. And the payback period is 3.7 years estimated.
Okay, got it.
So what is our average borrowing cost today? 2%, 3%, 5%?
Under that, we're looking at like 2 or 3%.
I'd probably do that analysis.
Yeah, see how much we can make with that $400,000 in short-term investing.
There you go.
Versus what we would pay to.
Did you ever?
I actually did have a question. Mike, when will we know about the grant awards? Will we find out before town meeting or after?
Probably after, yeah.
So we have to ask.
Mike, just for a project like this, and I'll probably ask more of these from the projects, what controls are in place? So who oversees the project itself for cost overruns potentially, so there's no surprises, so we can inform the town?
The company Rail Term Energy, the consultant that we hired,
Yeah? So this is a consultant that we hired?
yeah,
They report back to the town
Right.
where we are as percent complete
yep.
regularly? Okay.
And everything has to be completed before June to receive the MAPC grant.
I mean, I know these products have been out on the market for a few years, 4 or 5 years, but do we have a warranty with the manufacturer? Is that through?
Yeah, that was part of the RFP that they did, yeah. They had to have a cost per light and warranty and,
The service agreement?
right, and also they looked at the history of the
Yep.
lights and how long they lasted, and they ranked each one as that they received.
Okay.
I can give you copies of that.
Yeah. Just so once they're installed, you still have
Yep.
support.
And
Product
is this
support.
a replacement one-for-one, or did we take some out, or?
It'll be 1-for-1.
So, right now, if a light bulb goes out, the electric company comes and fixes it. Who fixes the LEDs now that we own them?
That's part of the
The
cost.
maintenance cost?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aaron?
Mike, is that an estimated maintenance cost or a contracted?
That's estimated maintenance cost per year based on, these lights last for so long, they figure out how many you could have issues with, and that's how they come up
So
with the
who
estimate.
is our light, is it highway department?
No, it would be a company.
Okay.
So would we enter into a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year maintenance
Probably
contract?
5-year.
Okay. And all that, and what it would cost to hire that company is factored into this $93,000 annual savings, of course.
So, these are new LED bulbs we're gonna get in this year, right? So, what's the chance of how many gonna blow out in the first year? So is that just on average? I mean, when doing the contract, would they say, well, these are all brand new, so we'll give you a break this year on the contract because we don't expect to replace any, or is that?
Yeah,
You want to answer?
go ahead.
Well, I think just a little bit of experience.
Yeah.
They have to meet National Grid standards, so there's already been a product out in the market, so they kind of have a real good estimate of what's the failure rate and what needs to be replaced, and so there's a program in place, so there wouldn't be some sort of, catastrophe or anything like that with the.
So would we know that? So if they're already factoring that in and they're saying, well, 5,000 a year for this contract period, but then
In year
in year,
20.
in year 7, we know that 40% of these are gonna blow, so we're gonna charge you 30,000. Is that something, do we get that study?
No, we're not that is on us. We'll be going out contracting with a company to do that. We won't be contracting with them.
Right, but would they be able to tell us that, based on National Grid standards, these lights will last 20
well-
years?
They have a 10-year warranty
Okay.
and include a long life photo control with the same warranty.
Okay. Steve?
Michael, just on this project, the consultant was going to go around, when we approved the town meeting, they were going to go around the town to see if we could save lights or dark spots or take away an area. But is this just replacing what we currently have, or is this the result
This
of
is
that?
based on their study.
Study.
So,
But did they find reductions or the same?
let me see.
I feel like that number sounds familiar, so I think it's what we had.
There's some dark roads in this.
Well, I thought when we asked that at a prior meeting,
was just to
it wasn't
replace.
to study where we could use lights or
No.
where we didn't need them.
was just-
It was just basically studying what we had
Yeah.
You're right.
and just
One for one.
replacing that.
Yeah, right now, it's just removal of 664 Cobra head lights and replacing them with 664 LEDs.
Yeah, so it's 1 to
So
1.
that whole study was going counting light bulbs, just to put it bluntly.
Huh?
Come up with 664? Okay. That's what they did. That's the study. They counted them.
I thought they were looking.
No,
There's a meter.
Yeah, he's got a clicker.
Driving, looking for areas where.
Math kid in high school.
Do you need more paper?
I'm gonna look over here.
Just make sure you number your pages.
Just a 1 for 1.
Got a lot going on here.
One, two.
So, do we want to vote on Article 10 or Article?
Decide how we're gonna.
no,
You don't have money on the rails.
not yet.
Mr. Chairman, I do have
Yes.
one question, Town Manager. These LED lights, have we seen them in action? Are they in a nearby community? Is there a place where we could go see what they look like? I mean, is it a very stark white, like, for example, I put up LED Christmas lights one year. It lasted about 12 hours, I had to take them down. It was just garish.
I would think the closest, I think Easton did.
Easton, right.
I know where my summer house is in Dennis. Dennis did, well, the whole Cape did, the whole Cape has done it. But Easton did it, I
So you
know.
have them in the community you live in, or at least part-time? Or is it a similar sort of yellow light that the current ones give off, or is it just darker white?
It's white, it's darker white. I have one right outside my house down the Cape. Get used to it. And we will have, you'll be able to adjust them.
Right, they're dimmable.
Yep. And I believe Brockton did it, but Easton would be the closest. Rockland, I know, has done it. I don't know who else around here has done it, but I'll check.
Is that all we want to tackle?
Hope so.
Yeah.
Page 4.
Amy has architectural lights in her neighborhood, and I was just wondering if those are going to go away.
Those are part of this too,
Okay, so are they getting converted into just regular,
LEDs.
just the bulbs or?
Yeah,
whole lights?
the lights will be the same, just
Okay.
the bulbs will be converted.
They've been there a long time, I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
wondering
yeah.
if they're gonna like take them out.
I'm going to guess the difference, if you've gone past Roche Brothers, they converted. And
Those are bright.
those are bright.
Past, so like in between Roches and
Well,
25?
no, the Roach Brothers parking lot
Plaza.
Lights.
redid theirs 3-4 months ago, and you can tell the difference.
I'll check it out on my way home. See, I may not want one of those outside my house, but if they're dimmable.
I'm not sure who has the dimmer control, though.
Yeah, we'll have it here.
It's not gonna be one on each pole?
We can just,
Each your own?
Find the end of that.
All right, if we're done with this. Bonnie, do you want to, has there been any meetings, I'm going to assume so, since?
Yep.
August?
There were 2 permanent building committee meetings. Well, I went to a meeting while we all were having a meeting. I left here and went to their meeting down the hall on August 12th, and then there was a meeting September 9th. So one of the things they talked about was an building envelope study. So they study the outside of buildings just to determine if any need upgrades or replacing or anything like that. And that's something they've tabled for now while they're working on other projects. But they do have $70,000 allocated for it. And they just talked about not wanting to see the money spent and nothing done as before. And Jack Conway, the selectman, is in those meetings, so he sort of committed to making sure that when they do conduct that study, that they don't stick it on a shelf or whatever, put it in a drawer, as they said. But they really think that it will go a long way towards helping the capital committee to determine priorities and long-term planning. So at the August 12th meeting, they discussed a letter that Mike had sent detailing a list of the municipally owned properties that could be considered for development of the town hall and senior center project. And there were 7 on that list. And they talked about how the school committee had offered to give additional land near where the Campbell House had been, next to the playground in front of the middle school. And the woman from the Council on Aging and Human Services Department, Beth, spoke about how she was concerned about families' privacy of it being on school property, because there are families that come to that would come to that building to get food donations and things like that. And also the concerns raised with the human services side of things and people who are sex offenders being on the property of the schools as well. So ultimately, the Council on Aging board determined not to build the senior center there, because that was, a 10,000 square foot building could fit there, I guess is what they determined. So they were looking for funding for a site selection study. They needed to determine if there was any funding available from the money that had already been approved by town meeting, whether or not, and then if the entire amount had been expended, they wanted to work on an RFP for a site selection study and have it ready to go. If it was approved at the fall town meeting, have it ready to go out the next morning. So they were talking with Mike about that. There were questions about how the funds in their account had been allocated. They felt like there were maybe some accounting errors. So they went over, the balance in the account, what's been expended to pay the architects and the site engineers, when it was spent, account numbers, how they'd like to track it going forward, and the RFP approval process, and believed that there may have been errors to the tune of $33,000. So they might be able to use that for the site selection study. Then they talked about, because Sherry Cohen also attends from the school committee, so they talked about the bundling of the athletic complex with the town hall and senior center, if that were ever to everything move forward in their processes. So the committee's initial preference was not to purchase property for the town hall and senior center project. That was one of the reasons why the Cross Street property, what was the other?
Elm.
Elm and Cross, was considered. But at the last meeting on the 9th, they determined that they would like to move forward with consideration of the purchase of the land between the current town hall and the police station, so right next door. And one of the buildings, I guess, would go there, and one of the buildings would go behind, because we own the land behind this building. And so they went to the Board of Selectmen meeting on the 19th, which I also attended, and asked the Board of Selectmen to support the purchase of the land for strategic purposes for $1 million, which is the current asking price. And the Board of Selectmen asked the Permanent Building Committee to kind of further explore how the buildings would be situated on the land, because all the plans that everyone had seen was for the Elm Street project. And so they wanted to kind of make sure that, and there hadn't been a site survey done recently, or extensive one done for the site next door, so they just wanted to make sure that if the strategic purchase were made, that there was a plan for it going forward. So just more specifics. And then there was an athletic complex update. So Sherry talked about how Dr. Bayetta, Wade Lazat, the athletic director is at Sumner, Aaron Sumner, some community members, representatives from sports organizations have been meeting for about a year. Springtown meeting approved a feasibility study. A company named Gale did the study. They've made the recommendations. And actually, at one point, the school committee asked the company Gale to redo their recommendations to see if they could fit a senior center in a different parcel on the grounds of the Yale and the high school. And I think it's where the current baseball field is now. And I'm not exactly sure, but it was somewhere right on the property. And again, the Say-Wade board determined that that didn't work for them for a variety of reasons. So there's also the school windows and doors project that Sherry gave an update to the committee on. It's complete, I believe, at the Solomon East and the North, so they have all new windows, a new vestibule, new doors. Everything's done at both of those schools. There was a setback with a delivery date for the windows at the Yale. And then there was the problem with asbestos that you may have heard about from some ceiling tiles that were mistakenly taken down. So that set back everything, and those poor kids are meeting all over the building in the 5th grade. So Dr. Bayard actually sent an email out to the community, the school committee, on Friday, saying that it would be at least 3 more weeks. But that's, no one knows, obviously, when you're doing renovations, anything goes. So 3 weeks is the estimate for when people will be able to, because they're actually cleaning things individually and approving it to like go back to a teacher. And these materials are now ready. I mean, they're having to really sift through everything one by one. So that's basically it.
One question?
Yeah.
Are they trying to keep the same drawings and footprint?
Yes.
Or the new, so,
That's the goal, since they've already, determined what they want and
Yeah.
what they want it to look like and what they need.
Yeah.
They're hoping to just drop those 2 buildings on a different site.
yeah.
Or one building on one site, one building on another site, but they were separate architects anyway.
Thanks, Mike.
So they will be definitely 2 different locations.
Well, I don't know about definitely, but
Yeah.
that right now is the
Looks like
current
it's going
plan.
that way.
Nearby, hopefully, I mean,
Yeah.
they were right here.
And strategically, if they're trying to buy the property next door, and then, maybe put a building there, put a building back there. So you still have fire and the police. Are we looking at their needs?
That has been raised as a question, but not, I believe they've talked about that, but not at these 2 meetings.
Okay,
So I may not have been part of those conversations.
okay.
So it's something I can ask the next meeting.
Paul?
I have 2 questions. One, if they build the 2 buildings on these properties around here, did they consider a parking lot also for the Council on Aging? Had that come up?
Sorry, Peter was asking
Sorry.
some questions.
Sorry.
Could you just repeat what you said?
If they choose to put the Council on Aging and new town hall here, did they consider a parking lot also for the Council on Aging with that?
Right, I believe
Fit
it's
in this
all,
area?
it's all on, part of the plans.
Okay.
The plans include parking.
Okay. And then you mentioned there was 7 properties they were looking at. What other, do you know what those properties?
I don't remember off the top of my head. Some of them were confidential, so only the people in the room saw them. But there was a bunch that they had considered before, and they did have some issue with them. But now the property they ultimately went with was no longer under consideration. It was like revisiting 4 or 5 of the sites that they had considered before. So, but there's like wetlands issues, different things that they just felt like made them less desirable, not being close enough to the center, things like that.
What are they going to do with this building?
I am not 100% sure on that, because
Tearing it
There was some question about whether or not, Mike might be able to answer this.
Fire was gonna
Fire
take
was
Just,
it
gonna take.
over, but then take down the rest. That's what
Yeah,
I
fire
thought.
was
Yeah,
gonna
that's
use
what I
some of it.
heard.
I don't know exactly.
Because, I mean, that's a cost too, at some point. you know.
And that probably
Well,
was.
this would be the parking lot.
It may be, yeah.
Yeah.
That, I believe, was part of the original plans that include these two buildings and all their parking, was what would happen to this building anyway, because there was no plan to ever improve it, because it was gonna, I think we heard last year it was gonna be like $4 million to do that, so.
Right.
Update
And
it to code and all that.
I forget out of the original presentation how big this replacement was gonna be. But, you know, the spots where they said Council on Aging, it wouldn't work. Would the town hall have worked on either one of those sites?
Yeah.
I feel like it was 25,000 square. foot
Right, I think it was
building
much
for
bigger.
town hall,
Yeah.
Which means at 2 floors, it's 12 to 14,000 square foot footprint.
Yeah.
That certainly seems large for the Campbell House location.
Right,
Unless you're gonna scrap the playground and.
Right.
I mean, that,
Even then, with
That
parking.
was
Yeah.
mentioned.
I mean, it's, you know, that's not a large.
That was mentioned.
Spot there.
okay.
okay.
And the discussion was that they preferred not to do that, but
Right.
that was part of that conversation for that property, that area.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Mike, Aaron, or Amy, the last ad hoc meeting a couple weeks ago, I know the big one is in a couple weeks, where we'll get all this information. Did anything happen at the last one?
No.
No.
So we are at ad hoc in a bit of a holding pattern, just to let everybody know what's going on there. We've asked the town departments for what we're calling a zero-based budget, which is basically a request for them to assess what their budget would need to be to provide a like service, like level of service to similar communities, you know, where they think they are lacking. This does not include raises for employees. This is strictly service to the community. They are going to have those to us by the end of this month, so in the next few days. And we meet again on October 8th, having had them for about a week, and we'll discuss at that point and see what we've got our hands on. But, so, things are about to get rolling very heavily over there, but right now, we are circling the airport and waiting to land.
Thank you.
Can you kind of repeat that and paraphrase it for me?
We have requested zero-based budgets
Zero-based budgets.
from town departments.
And what are zero debate, what is a zero-based budget?
It is a budget based on not the money you have. It's basically, what would your budget look like if you gave no consideration to what the budget is? For you to provide
Services for 19,000
a
people.
comparable level of services to a similar sized town.
Thank you. Took me a while to write it down.
Understand? And we will have the shortly and have something to, and hopefully we'll, you know, see where people think they're falling short. Or
Could be
or
very,
exceeding expectations.
could be very interesting.
We'll see.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything else? Anybody wants to bring up or discuss? Walter?
I have a proposal slash suggestion, I just want to throw by people. Would it be possible to get whoever produces our packet to number the pages for us?
And send it electronically in advance, perhaps?
I'll ask
Nice as well, but
again.
the numbering would really be helpful for me. I think.
Agreed. Second.
I would say one thing with the packets I've noticed, though, that they're printed out in separate different things.
Correct.
Right.
So
But before
numbering,
they're
numbering,
thrown into the
numbering
We
would,
have to write on
would have to write on the,
With a pen.
Yeah.
yeah,
But I'm asking. for
right,
that,
yeah.
yes.
Before it's thrown in the copier.
Well,
Right.
if they can put it all into a computer and PDF it would have numbers.
Yeah.
I'll ask
I'll send
again.
Last thing. Is there any progress in getting recording secretaries on a consistent basis?
I have not heard of,
Well,
No.
I don't want to take your pleasure away from you.
Pete's had so much fun tonight.
Don't let me be the one. But, nothing then?
have not heard.
Oh,
Could
jeez.
we even like open it up to a high school student that needs community service hours or something, if we can't find someone who wants to do it as a job? I mean, I understand, like, it's not an overwhelmingly fabulous paycheck. Like, the hours are very sporadic, we only meet certain times of year, I get that it's not,
Wheaton kid.
Reach out to
Intern.
Wheaton, yeah.
but I would think, like, yeah, Wheaton could be a good option, I don't know, we seem to have been having some troubles keeping people. So, I don't think it's us, is it us?
I'm hoping not. I can suggest it. I mean, I'm assuming that the selectmen didn't have any permanent person their last meeting.
No.
Yeah.
Typically, they have Jen. Their admin.
She does it all the time?
Mhm.
That's not fair.
She was pregnant, so I don't know if she was on maternity leave. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know why she wasn't there, but she wasn't there.
Um,
So I believe Mike was taking notes.
I can ask.
Or maybe she watches the meetings, when she's not present, and then just, I'm not sure. They may combine their notes, maybe.
I'll ask. See if we can get,
That's where those turnbacks from the finance committee came from, our budget for,
well, yeah,
for a recording secretary.
see what they say.
Do it for free.
I'm gonna assume they don't want to, if they pay anybody that they don't want to set them up, to have them not show up. So a student may be less reliable, which is why they're not going that route. Don't know. But I can ask. Anything else?
Let's see, just maybe a Wheaton College student that's studying political science or finance.
Yeah?
we don't pay them enough.
If nothing else, we have 2 sets of minutes. The August minutes, unless someone wants to watch the tape,
Yes, who was here at that meeting?
who was here
What is your name?
would be a great help.
Last year.
I'm pretty sure
I wasn't.
Bonnie was not.
No.
I
Because
wasn't?
you were,
Cause you
Oh,
went to
August
the
12th.
building
Yeah.
committee.
You're right.
yeah. So
I
you were-
wasn't
Yep.
here.
I was here.
Steve wasn't here,
He
It
was
was the
here.
Brammer Biotech presentation.
right,
Be able to remember if you saw it or not.
right,
I was here.
I think Rick was here.
right. I think Tom was here.
I was here.
Just about everybody
Yeah.
else was here.
I was here.
He was not.
I was here.
August 12th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no
You were
Steve,
here.
no Bonnie, no Aaron.
Do summer meetings.
Everybody else was here. I think Tom was here.
Yeah, I think Tom was here, because I think he mentioned the finance committee sent out maybe the tips when we were talking about this.
Yeah.
So are we looking at minutes?
Looking at minutes, yes. And on the other set of minutes, and they're double-sided.
Looks good to me.
I have something for the July 10th.
Which one are we reading?
Do you want to give two people time to read them, or do you want us to jump in?
I guess I'd give people a few
Okay.
moments to read. Oh, yeah, it was page 3, under the fourth bullet. I think that's what Pat,
Yeah, so it was a letter, I just looked back in my notes, I have them from that meeting. It was a letter from the Permanent Building Committee to the Board of Selectmen. So she was basically letting the committee know what the letter, like reviewing it to read into the minutes,
from PBC to,
from PBC to BOS.
thank you.
And then in the first bullet, that's the other change I was going to suggest, is that committee prefers to call the representatives from the Board of Selectmen, FinCom, and School Committee liaisons. So not themselves, they're members. They preferred to call us liaisons.
The reps from BOS, FinCom,
School Committee.
Oh, instead of themselves. Oh, the
What,
representatives from.
thank you.
They did appoint, I don't think I mentioned this, they did appoint a temporary member from the COA board. So he's now a member, like a voting, they have 6 voting members now.
Does have a question on the?
Go.
On the paragraph, or section 1, call to order, Mr. Puello also present, representing Mr. Units, I don't, what was,
Mike wasn't here.
James.
oh, Mr.
James Fellow, the
James.
council.
Oh, James, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. That's right, okay.
Yeah, typically she puts first names, so it's just not there.
That's right, James.
Peter.
I recommend that we approve the minutes of July 10th as amended.
Second.
Oh, I gotta write that down.
Motion and a second
You are so
to accept the minutes of July 10th, 2019 as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? 2 abstentions. Thank you.
That would be me and Aaron.
Mhm.
Aaron.
2 ASs.
Who seconded, Steve? I busted so much lid.
Yeah, we're gonna have August 12th, so you might wanna write that down.
I will try to find Pat. I'll go across
No,
the street. You have the electronic version?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
her version.
Okay, great.
So I can
So you can amend it
Yep.
physically.
Mr. Chairman,
Amy?
I move that we accept the minutes from the meeting of August 12th, 2019,
As amended?
as amended.
We amended
Wait,
something?
we amended?
Nobody amended it.
Addition of the names.
We need names.
Oh, we need to amend them with the names, yes, as amended, sorry.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of August 12th, 2019 as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none. All those in favor?
Oh, wait, no, I'm not in favor.
I was here.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained?
How many abstained? Two?
Great.
Three abstained? We have a second to that. Who has these electronically?
Paula?
Paula.
Paula, you have these
Do you have the
electronically?
names of who was there?
I did take
do?
them down, yes. I just
Okay.
have to,
Cool.
I will resend them to you again.
Thank you. If there is nothing else, and Tom is not here,
Mr. Chairman.
Wait, the next meeting is town report? And the next meeting.
no,
I
we're
thought
not-
we were meeting Monday, but the agenda says Wednesday.
At one point,
Yeah,
you sent out dates to say not Monday.
I
Yeah,
have just
no-
October 2nd of next week, I think.
it's all Wednesdays.
So
For the actual town meeting.
Right.
So that would be,
So next
October 2nd.
Wednesday.
so it'd be the 2nd, 9th, and
You
the 14th's a holiday, which
did
is
say
a
we'd be
Monday.
meeting
So
on the
you got-
7th.
Yeah, your
Right,
emails.
but
Your
the
email said
initial
Yeah,
email, but then that changed.
No, the changed,
Said the
said
7th?
the 7th, which is a Monday. It said both weekdays that week. And then obviously the next Monday is
Oh, maybe that's.
holiday.
Yeah, maybe that's.
Then we're doing
why.
Wednesday, and then the Monday, because it's the
Yeah.
town meeting.
Has anything changed since the email you,
Yeah, see, I don't have
the last
nine.
email you sent?
Not that I've,
So it's
Okay.
so it's next
2nd,
Wednesday.
7th, 9th, 16th, 21st.
Yes,
It's only 5 meetings.
correct. Well, again, the 21st should be hopefully nothing.
Well, we still have to be.
Oh, you don't think they're gonna come in with all the
We can hope,
last minute stuff?
we can hope.
Okay, that's plastic.
I really don't know what item 6 is on this agenda. So I'm gonna pass on it. So, now.
Mr. Chairman,
Peter.
I recommend we adjourn.
I'll second that, it's past my bedtime, filling in for Tom.
Oh, there it is.
Motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? Not hearing it. All those in favor? That appears unanimous.